Sophie Mouse, Book 2. Chapter 5. What's that sound? She didn't say she'd ever been there. Sophie pointed out. Harry didn't reply. The two friends walked on quietly towards the ooze. Sophie kept clacking the map. There should be a lucky hillside coming up. Sophie says, sure. Asked. They soon passed the ridge with a lacquer fence on the side. Next, we should come to a rock with a big long fern across it, said Sophie. Their orchard was a raveling brook. The girls used the fern leg as a birdcage to cross the water. Their wood took them downstream along the brook. Block. After a while, a long stream joined up with the block. Now it was more like a river. The water got longer and faster moving. Sophie and Harry contained on dot the woods along the riverbank. Soon Sophie started to hear a sound. It streamed far off, but it was concert, like a gust of wind blowing on and on. As they walked, Sophie noted that the sound was getting louder. Sophie looked at Sophie. Do you hear that? She asked. Harry replied, what is it? Sophie didn't know, but she was closest to find out. She sniffed the air, but all she could smell was the water of the river. She heard on. The sound got louder and louder and louder before the lake long. Harry had to start to be heard over the roaring sound. Sophie! She cried. I think we should go back. Harry has stopped walking. Sophie looked toward the sound, then back at Harry. She didn't want to go on without Harry, but she did want to know what was making that noise. It felt as if they were so close. The roll almost streamed up to snake the ground. In front of them were some terrorists block their view of the way outread. Sophie turned forward a few steps. She pointed the wrist and picked her hand dried. But she took her breath away. Hey, come and look, she shouted. You have to see this. Harry hopped over. Oh my, was all she said. They were gazing out over a real, very wonderful. The rustling weather caught the stripes and gasped as it flew. Two rainbows made a doodled a, across over the mastery pew. I never seen anything so beautiful, said Harry. The flow had left her face. In his face was a hang smile. How now this is an adventure, said Sophie. She pulled out the map to check their persons. She started in from spe- spearing mirth. She said, "That's funny." Harry looked at the map too. "What's funny?" she asked. Sophie looked up at her. Is just she began. The wonderful is nowhere on the left. Waterfall. Chapter 6. Lost. Harry and Sophie barked so they could talk without having to search. Sophie opened her snack. She took out the water and some mirror leaf biscuits. Where they nodded, they looked at the map together. "You're right," said Harry at last. "There's no Waterford anywhere on the map." She looked up at Sophie. "So, what do we do?" Sophie furred the map. She tucked in back into the snack along with the water and biscuits. She sniffed the air and looked around. Wasn't really sure which way to go. But if Ita had that, she wouldn't to go home, thought Sophie. Sophie pointed toward the woods away from the river. "Let's go this way," she said, trying to sound comforted. Sophie nodded and followed along. "Pew," she said. "I'm so glad that Lo was coming from a beautiful, wonderful, and well, not something else." They walked and walked deeper and deeper into the forest. Sophie looked up, down, and all around. They was trying to take everything in. The trees here are different. Sophie nodded. She was used to the oak and whizzed to, but oak and asked and pine trees in a pine noodle golfed, but those trees were are very tall and smooth. White bag Harry seemed to nonsense too. Now and then Sophie turned around to find Harry stirring a tree trunk. Tree tag. They the first few times Sophie didn't think much of it. Then it screamed as if Harry was stopping more and more. It's time just as Sophie was about to ask what she was doing, Harry had around to catch up. It darker here?" Harry asked after she time had passed. "Or is it just my imagination?" Sophie looked up. The tall trees and their leaves were blocking out most of the sunshine. "It does," screamed Barry sadly. sunny. Suddenly, they walked on wire longer. A cold gas wind blew past Sophie's teeth started to changer. It is is it colder here too? Harry asked. Sophie nodded. That different was a back breeze, she said. She pulled her scarf from her sack. She wrapped it around Harry's neck. There, very nearby, an owl had laid down in the trees. Searched. Harry jumped. Sophie, where are we? Sophie looked down at the map. I'm not. Sophie didn't want to say it, but she always wasn't. She will, they will. Where? Sophie looked. Alfred was back, and now Sophie was wearing it too. She checked her snack. They had only a few biscuits left and little bit of water, but most of her they were lost, and it was all Sophie's fault. What if they couldn't find their way home? Sophie couldn't help thinking, would they end up just like the scare in the story? Just then, there was a rushing in the bush right beside them. Sophie and Harry grabbed each other's hands. After to run, they started freezing to their spots. Then they saw it a bushy gay were sticking up from behind some leafy bushes. Sophie and Harry scratched each other together. They kept their eyes ground on the tear as it moved toward them closer and closer and closer. And next chapter on the next video. Thank you for watching my video and next time we'll see. Bye bye.